Everybody, this is Erica from In the Company of Cards. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Uh, Thank you for all your kind comments on Lena's and my show yesterday, our live, which called Worldview 360. And just to remind you that we'll be doing that every single Wednesday. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for all your likes, shares, subscribes, hypes, comments, especially your comments. I really appreciate them. Click the notification bell if you'd like to be notified of when I'm putting a video up. I'll let you know now that I have a live coming up tomorrow with a guest who, if you are on Substack, with someone you will know as the Broom Closet. She is an amazing tarotist, and I just put out an invitation to her to ask if she wanted to come on live and uh, take viewer questions and an engaging conversation with me. So that's going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific. So that's of course 7 p.m. Eastern. And I will put the notice for that up as soon as I'm done with this video. Again, click the notification bell because that will let you know when I put something up new or when I'm advertising something alive that's coming up. All right. So a few things I thought I would look at. Um, Not really in any particular order, but this one intrigues me. Uh, Senator Paul. I don't know why I want to call him Paul because that's not his name. Senator Ron Wyden, who's a Democrat from Oregon, sent uh, the head of the FBI, sorry, CIA. It's late for me. It's not late, but it's late. I think it's late for all of us, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Senator Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, sent a very terse, to the point, sort of, uh, letter to Director Ratcliffe, who is the director of the CIA. You don't hear much about him, but at any rate, he is the director of the CIA. And and the letter reads as follows. Dear Director Ratcliffe, I write to alert you to a classified letter I sent you earlier today, in which I express deep concern about CIA activities. And then he finished it by saying this. Thank you for your attention to this important matter, which we know, of course, is a riff on what the felon, for whatever reason, likes to add end his letters with. Thank you for your attention to this matter, which is just weird. There was a little riff on that. So here's the thing. Wyden already sent a letter to Ratcliffe expressing his concern, privately, of course. So why, on the same day, does he send this follow-up and then make it public for us to see? Clearly, common sense and logic tell us it's because Senator Wyden wanted us to see it. And he also wanted Director Ratcliffe to know that the public has been informed of Senator Wyden's deep concerns about goings on at the CIA. So, what are those goings on at the CIA? What is he concerned about? I mean, who knows what the cards are going to show, but um, let's use the letter, and that will stand for the first letter, which is the letter where Wyden says, listen, I'm concerned about XYZ. Get back to me. I mean, it was probably a longer letter than this little two-line one. What is he concerned about? So what did he tell Ratcliffe he was concerned about? Now, of course, now that I think about it, he's probably not going to actually have put it in that first letter, the details of what it is he's concerned about, because it's the CIA he's concerned about, right? So he might have been as cryptic in the first letter as he was in the second letter. So I guess what I want to know is what are his concerns? So I'm not going to use the letter as the focus card. I think I'm going to let Spirit pick all the cards because then that central one will tell us a lot. I just want to know what is he concerned about with the CIA? I mean, I know what I'm concerned about in regard to the CIA, but what is he concerned about? Okay. So again, we're going to let Spirit pick all the cards and let's see what we get. What is Senator Wyden concerned about in terms of what's going on at the CIA? Okay, so I've got these five, but I'm going to pull more. So we have clouds, we have the star, we have the house, we have the tree, and we have the mice. So those are our original five cards. Remember what we're looking at. What's Wyden concerned about in regard to the CIA? So clouds, clouds obscure things, right? They hide stuff. Um, and I can mirror the clouds with mice. So this, a lot of times people will say, traditionally speaking, this is a negative card. People also traditionally will say this is a negative card. I think in this case, these are negative cards. So he's worried about something that's going on at the CIA that shouldn't be. It's something that makes him anxious, nervous, worried, and it's something that obviously the CIA or some people at the CIA don't want known. Now, I mean, the fact that the CIA doesn't want it known, that's not that unusual. I mean, it's a clandestine service, right? I mean, it's the CIA. Uh, but there's a shadiness to these two cards. Now, the second card is the stars. The stars are a great card. It means hope, it's the future, etc. Um, but I can mirror it with the fourth card, which is the tree. So I'm putting these two cards together and I'm thinking that he's worried about the future health, the future health of what? Well, in the center, we have the house. And, you know, I can't help but think that this is uh, the health of the country, um, the health of the White House. I just, mm, I think that he's worried about the activities at the CIA, that's what he says, of maybe there are people at the CIA who are not acting in the best interests of the USA. I'm going to put it like that. So I pulled clarifiers on everything. So here's these clouds. And again, this is doubts. These are things that are hidden or obscured or obfuscated um, that are damaging, painful. This is also the card of sacrifice. Did somebody in the CIA or some number of somebodies in the CIA sacrifice something for something else? Like, I don't know, you could sacrifice what? Your patriotism for whatever advantage you get from an enemy whom you give secrets to. This is not a good card. Together, these are really not good. But then we have these two cards that follow, which are interesting. We have the sun and the stork. So, whatever nefarious deeds people are up to at the CIA, Paul Wyden, Paul, Ron Wyden is covering his bases in a really smart way by saying, let me shout this from the rooftops. I'm not going to come to you on the DL all quiet and behind my hand say, listen, Ratcliffe, is something going on over there? No, no, I'm going to shout it out in public. What's going on over there? What do we need to know? Because I'm worried. This is very smart. Okay. Second card, remember, was the stars, the future. And here we have fish, woman, and man. I'm going to tell you what. I didn't know if this person was going to show up, but here they are. So this is the future. This is money. I think this is uh, the head of the, what's she the head of? Well, anyway, I think this is Tulsi Gabbard. She is in charge really of national security, and has been accused in the past of being way too close to Iraq and way too close to Russia. So you have that person be in charge of your national security. That's kind of shady. I think she is, I know this is an odd word to use for someone who has risen to the station that she has in life, but I think there is a naivete to her in the way that there is to him. In other words, she thinks that she can act with impunity and not get caught. Now, I mean, I can see why she would think that because she works for a guy who thinks that. That would be the felon. But she may have been a little too um, hasty, sloppy, uncareful. That's what I think. Because here we have the House at the top. This stands for the executive branch, I'm going to say. And the clarifiers are the one clarifier, first clarifier is the ring. This is the card for loyalty, right? Like, so for example, it's the card for a contract. If you give your word is your bond. If you sign a contract, your word is your bond. So her loyalty to, um, well, I think she's got quite a bit of loyalty to the executive branch, but that's not the same thing as having loyalty to the country, is it? And look, the other two cards are negative. The snake and the whip. The snake indicates that there is, in fact, a problem at the CIA. Whether it has to do with Tulsi Gabbard or not, there is a problem at the CIA. I do think is a loyalty problem. There are people there who are compromised, it seems. And it seems like this has been discovered, and there's a lot of internal um, mm, conversation about this. When I say conversation, I don't mean over tea or over a drink. I think that there are almost fisticuffs going on over this because it will be more than just a mark on the CIA. It will be disastrous when this gets out. So, what really are we talking about? Well, we're talking about again, the health of the country, the health and safety and security of the country. Hate to say it, but one of the meanings of the fox, this is a traditional meaning, I'm not making this up, is someone who is a foreigner, like, oh, I don't know, an Iraqi or an Irani or a Russian, someone foreign. And in this case, uh, it's not always the case that foreigner equals bad, although according to the felon, that's true. A lot of times this is nothing to do with anything negative, but I feel like here it does because we have the scythe and we have the birds. So I think that there has been a decision, scythe, to blab, to tell secrets, to disclose intelligence to foreign entities who mean the United States no good. Now, our last card in the original line of five is the mice. This is also not a good card here. It's the card for disease, filth, um, dastardly deeds, underhanded stuff. And oh, look who shows up. Hmm, the felon. And we have the rider and we have the bear. I'm going to go further than saying that it's Tulsi, although I'm sure allegedly, for entertainment purposes only, she could well be involved. But I think that the person who um, is most responsible for adversely affecting the health of our um, intelligence information is the felon. I think that is the concerning information that Wyden is referencing. I think that it's hard not to argue. It's hard to argue against the fact that the felon is a um, self-promoting, self-dealing, self-interested, transactional actor. And you know, talk about homegrown spy. I think that I think that I think he is the tip of the spear. I can mirror very first card, which is our clouds again, with the last card. And the last card is bear. And bear here to me is feels very much like Russia. So I think that he is engaged, the felon, in clandestine um, interactions with Russia. And I think he's not the only one. I think there are people compromised in the CIA on behalf of the felon who help him get this information back and forth. Now, again, allegedly for entertainment purposes only, but it was a very interesting, very clever way for Ron Wyden to get the message out to the American people that there's something very, very serious going on that needs the attention of the director of the CIA because it has to do with what did he call it? Deep concerns about CIA activities. What has the CIA been doing at the behest of the felon on behalf of, I'm going to say, Russia? But you know what? It's not only Russia, Israel, um, Iran. I, you know, so anyway, I just wanted to put that on your radar and let's see what the next thing is. Will Wyden send out another public letter that's meant for Radcliffe? Or will it be something a little bit less circular than that? Will Wyden come out and tell us what's going on, what he's worried about, or what he's discovered? But I think, in addition to everything else that we've got going on, we've got people in this administration who are um, in another era. I don't know. They could be keeping company with the Rosenbergs, if you know what I mean. So we'll see. There's definitely something going on. It looks like some kind of spying activity. Um, Not sure. I mean, well, let's look. Let's Why not? I'm going to draw three cards for Israel, three cards for Russia, and three cards for Saudi Arabia. If they all look sort of similar um, in terms of orientation, then we could say could be all three of them. But if one stands out, well, then one will stand out. So we'll put Israel on the top. That'll be the first three. Israel, and then we'll say Iran, and then we'll say Russia. Not that there aren't other countries, of course, but you know what I mean. Okay, so Israel, Iran, and Russia. Okay, so for Russia, we've got clouds, we've got the young woman, and we've got birds. I'm sure there's chatter going on. Um, Russia is sort of our eternal adversary in that way. So that doesn't surprise me too much. Um, I forgot which one's which now, but anyway, the middle one, bouquet, ring, and crossroads. So far it feels like two out of three are a yes, because this is a gift, a reward. Well, what do you give people gifts for? For being loyal to you, giving you information, giving you compromise. Um, and instead of going on the straight and narrow, you veer from the straight and narrow down a sort of espionage-like path. So that's two out of three. And then we have Israel as the first one. So mice. Oh, look who shows up, the felon. And oh, look what else shows up, the key. You know what? Um, I'm going to say this has to do with Israel, who, of course, Israel is our ally. We are their biggest financial supporter. And of course, it's important to remember that the government of Israel is not the same thing as the people of Israel. Uh, Also, it's important to say that just because one is critical, or in this case, suspicious with those cards of the government of Israel, that's got nothing to do with being anti-Semitic. So if you want to come for me about that, I probably wouldn't do it if I were you. Just, friendly suggestion. I think he has found out Wyden information about Israel, and that we have either it's activity, he said activity at the CIA. So this means someone, plural, probably in the CIA, um, providing Israel with information that they ought not to have about us. So that's my vote. That's what the cards indicate. Of course, each of those three card spreads indicated that it could be any and all three of those countries plus But with the key there and the felon showing up, it's hard to not give Israel pride of place in that company of three. And I think that Wyden is referring to information that he's heard about Israel. So just put that in your pipe and smoke it, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Kamala Harris is back in the news. So since her um, failed campaign, her social media operation has been dormant. But today she has announced that she was suspending the rest of her book tour and is now working really hard around the rebranding of her campaign social media. So now what she's done is she's partnering with an organization called People for the American Way. This is a progressive organization, so that's interesting. Progressive, progressive a la um, Bernie, a la AOC, a la Jasmine Crockett. So that's interesting. The intention, of course, is to bring more Gen Z people into politics as, you know, participants in terms of running for office and that kind of thing. So, what I'd like to know, she said at the end of the campaign, she said, for years I had to argue with my family and say to them, they would ask me, well, why are you in politics? What's that all about? And she would say, well, I believe that you can best work from within the system if you see things that are wrong that you want to change. And at the end of the campaign, she says, I have since all of this changed my mind about that. I think that I don't see myself as an insider. I see myself now as an outsider, and I will work from outside. So you could argue that retooling her social media to be about young progressives, that would be from the outside, mentoring and guiding and all of that. But I've also heard another theory that the plan is for her to run for Congress. Now, here's the long shot, and I'm sure many of you fantasize about this long shot, but I don't know, maybe it won't be a fantasy. The long shot we've heard about, of course, and you will have heard this, is that she runs for Congress, she wins, just as all the other Democrats win, and we win back the House. Let's leave the Senate out of it for a minute, but we win back the House, and she's now in the House. And then once we've won back the House, and of course, ideally the Senate, then the felon and Vance and everybody else get impeached and convicted and then thrown out of office. So now there's no felon, there's no Vance under the law, and there's no Mike Johnson because he would no longer be in the majority, right? So under the law, the majority leader of the House is third in line of succession. And that what would happen is that Kamala would be voted in as majority speaker of the House, and that Hakeem would gracefully acquiesce to that and vote for her. So now she would be the number three person elevated to the presidency. This is so many ifs have to be fulfilled in order for this to happen. So I'm not so much going to look at that. I just want to know whether, what her long-term goal is, because, you know, she's in politics. She's never gone backwards in politics. She's always gone forwards. And so I'd like to know what is her plan moving forward. So we're going to use the older woman for her. And is this partnering with the People for the American Way? Is that just step one in a bigger plan um, for Harris. Okay, so we have the lily, the birds, there's Harris, the sun, and the letter. Now, if you recall, if you read her book, you know that she considers herself to have been ill-treated by the Biden machine. And the Biden machine is certainly the Democrats, but they certainly wouldn't, I wouldn't call them progressive. So this move towards the progressive wing of the party makes a lot of sense for her. Um, Lily, first of all, I think she has learned a lot, um, and matured a lot in her understanding of national politics. Uh, I can mirror this with the last card. The letter is the card for votes, but I also think that the lily is also the card for long-term strategy. So this could be a long-term strategy looking towards the 2026 and then 2028 election. Now, she'd have to shove a lot of people out of the way, like Pritzker, like Gavin Newsom, right? I think these men say, well, you know what? You had your chance. Now let us back in. But they're not, I don't know well, I don't know that I would call either of them progressive per se. Um, I love the way Gavin has trolled the felon, but I also think he's been testing the waters and playing a little bit of both sides against the middle. I think Prop 50 was great. I think that was a strategic, brilliant idea on his part. So I'm grateful for that. But he is a politician through and through. Not that she's not, by the way. I'm just saying. Pritzker is the billionaire. And, it's like Billie Eilish says, if you're a billionaire, you have to ask yourself, why are you a billionaire? Now, we know he inherited money. Okay, that's how his family got the money. But why are you a billionaire? In other words, there are people starving. Why are you a billionaire? So I wouldn't call him progressive. So she has cast her lot with the progressive wing of the party, and there are those two wings of the Democratic Party. We talk about the split in that's going on in the Republican Party. Well, there's a split in the Democratic Party too. So this looks like a very much of a long game strategy. Birds. Well, this creates buzz. Oh, Kamala Harris, the dead have arisen. Well, thank God. There will be people who will be very buoyed by this announcement and who will leap at the opportunity to think that maybe this scenario that I outlined could actually happen. And I can mirror it with the sun. People are looking for some hope. And, you know, we cannot go back to business as usual. So the progressive wing would make the most sense for her. Now, here she is in the center, and look at the cards: the key, the fox, the bouquet. So that's Harris. The key is a yes. I think she's playing a very long game. The fox here is not a bad card. The fox here is strategic. So the game that she's playing is the strategic long game. She's smart. She learned a lot in this last debacle, and she is the wiser for it. She's licked her wounds, and now she's loaded for bear. And look at this, the bouquet. I think she will go for the big prize, which would be the nomination. It's early yet. This is a first step, but there are millions of young people who could be um, encouraged by um, this social media move that she's made. She's gonna be moving. She's already on, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, but she's moving also to Substack. So that's interesting because that's where all the cool people go who write. Um, I think she's playing the strategic long game with an eye towards getting the nomination. Whether the other players like Newsom and Pritzker um, run or not. Again, there would obviously be a primary regardless. But that scenario that I played out for you just now in the beginning of this question could also happen, where the felon and company are kicked out early. She's won her congressional race. Uh, she's at number three in the line of succession. Numbers one and two are gone, and she steps up. It could happen. It could happen. Uh, you know what? Let's do. I mean, and it's so early, right? But let's just look. Uh, will Kamala Harris be the next president? Or will people go back to sleep on a lot of issues, including this one, and say, well, it's always been a man. Let it be a man. People like men in charge. I mean, who knows? We have such an opportunity to wake up, but there's such a temptation to go back to sleep. And I don't know which way the country is going to go. So we'll see. But let's look at her. I'm just going to ask a different question. Like, what are her odds of being the next president? Because I don't want to do a yes or no. What are her odds? What are Kamala Harris's odds of being the next president of the United States? I think I'm going to let Spirit pick everything. I could have put her in the middle, but what can I say? I didn't. Okay. I didn't pull clarifiers on everything. I did pull them on the last three cards. So we have the ring, the whip, the tree, scythe, and the star. So what I want to say about these five cards individually and together is that, you know, one of the meanings of the ring is sort of continuity. We would like the country to continue as opposed to falling apart or falling into, you know, deeper into fascism than we've already allowed it to plunge. So I think that the electorate in the end will be committed to having a good future for the United States, which is not to say that this is the center card. This is the health of the republic. And what's interesting is that what flanks the health of the republic is the whip and the scythe, which feel very much like the energy of what we're experiencing now, which is really sort of soft Civil War energy, you know, verbal arguments, violence, which puts the health of the country, the tree, which is in the middle, in some doubt. But the electorate in the end will be committed to us becoming a more perfect union. So that's good. So I pulled some clarifiers on the tree, and they are the book, the fox, and the anchor. I think that for now, the jury's out. I think this is kind of a little bit like what she's doing with her social media. I think it's like a test balloon, frankly, because who knows which way the wind will blow, right? The book is for things we don't know, things that are still hidden from us, um, just because they're in the future and we're just not meant to know them. But she will be paying attention and assessing the weather, we'll say. Um, and then the anchor mirrors the tree. And I like this. These are two cards of real stability. So I think she will bide her time. There's not going to be any big announcement in the next months that she's going to run, but because she's testing the waters, I think. I think that she will, in the end, make that decision. Scythe. Key, again, this is a yes card, that we need to go in a new direction, that young people need to be a huge part of that new direction, like Gen Z, um, and the following generations after that. And their votes will be cultivated. And I think she will get those votes because the scythe, remember, cuts, yes, which is why it's a card for decision. But remember that there's a curve in the blade. And so it also gathers in what? Gathers votes in. So here we are. This is our future, which for some considerable time to go will still be fraught, will still be difficult. So please don't ask me how long. A long time. The Civil War did not end in a week, nor did the Revolutionary War, nor did Vietnam. So we've got miles to go before we sleep. But look at the other two clarifiers, the sun and the heart. This is very optimistic, very encouraging. The heart is the last card, and I can mirror it with the first card, which is again the card for commitment, promise, um, loyalty, that kind of thing. So I think she is weighing her options in the very early stages. Uh, I think she will champion young candidates coming up, Gen Z candidates coming up. But it wouldn't surprise me if she didn't throw her hat in the ring. And at that point, I feel like she will have built such a grassroots movement of young people that it will rival the more staid neocon, not, well, yeah, neocon wing of the Democratic Party. And I think they will have to take a giant step back in favor of her and this young cohort that she's going to be bringing up. This is good. I mean, I didn't really expect that I would see something like this or to be talking about this, but I think that this is a possibility. And, as we know, those of us who deal in metaphysics, magic, energy, uh, the possibilities for all things exist. The seed for every conceivable outcome exists. What grows and what flourishes will be the seeds that we plant and water and feed and nurture. And this could be one of those. So that's very exciting. Speaking of which, I think I'm going to end with this next one. So the Clintons had been ordered, subpoenaed to come before the committee, congressional committee, to talk about the whole Epstein thing. And at first they were like, nah, son, pass us with that. We're not coming. And then they changed their minds and they said, okay, yeah, we'll come. And we want to come and have it be televised live because the American people have a right to see this testimony in real time. And further, they said that their hope was that this would set the precedent for expectations on people in positions like theirs. In other words, this is the former two-term president, the first lady, former senator, former secretary of state, former Democratic candidate for the presidency. You can't get higher than that, right? Who are saying they are willing to come before the public and say what they know. And therefore, shouldn't it then be incumbent upon the current occupant of the White House and his blushing bride to come forward as well? And the Democrats have said, oh, okay, so if the Clintons are going to come forward like that, we are going to subpoena the felon and the bride of the felon to testify also. So I guess what I want to ask is, I mean, the reason I think this is a good question to follow hard on the heels of the last question is certainly the impression that the Clintons want to make. And let me just say, Bill is no, you know, blushing wallflower when it comes to dalliances with women, as we know. But anyway, is it true? I mean, is this really their intention? I guess I would say, why would it not be? What else do they have to lose? They've hit the pinnacles of their career. They are old, and this is certainly um, it would be a public service, not just to hear what they have to say about that whole scenario, but again, because it makes it really super difficult for the felon to say, oh, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not testifying. And it would make the Congress maybe more inclined to subpoena them, the felon and his bride. So I guess I want to ask, what are the real intentions of the Clintons in now agreeing to do what they refused to do before, which is to testify? Um, what is their real reason for agreeing to testify? And I'm going to let Spirit pick all the cards. I have said, I don't know if I said it here. I think I said it last night, maybe with Lena, and I've written about it on Substack. I just feel like there is a shift taking place. And whether we continue to shift in this new direction or whether we decide to just flip back to where we were, The jury is out, but I'm hoping that we can, again, continue with this shift because I think the walls are closing in on this administration. All right. What were the Clintons' intentions in now agreeing? You see that orb flying around? Hmm. Um, it is welcome here. What are the Clintons' intention in agreeing now to testify about the Epstein situation? I like this. I love that it starts with the key. And then we have the garden, the whip is in the center, the clover, and woman. I'll tell you what, it could be just a function of being a certain age, of having a daughter and having granddaughters themselves, um, of them uh, reading and hearing all of this Epstein stuff. I think all of this has sort of helped turn the key for them, and that they want to come forward for the sake of these children who are now grown up women. But they were children. They weren't underage girls, because what is that? They were children and boys too. So, I think that they see their move as being healing for the country and also, well, good for the public. Clover. Clover's a good card. I think that the public will say, good, maybe we are coming around the other side of this. Because people who've been, at the pinnacle of power are willing to hold themselves accountable to the people for what they know. What's in the center is this. So it's as much a pro bono move, pro bono meaning for the good of the people, for the good of the country. It's as much that as it is this. And this is to the felon. This will create a lot of arguments on the committee because the Democrats will say, look, our guys came forward and testified. Why are you stonewalling a subpoena for the felon and his bride? It's not a good look, guys. So, it's as much to make the felon look bad as it is pro bono for the people, for the good of the people. I don't mind that. I have no problem with them having a mixed motive in coming forward in that way. Now, what will be interesting, of course, is that the committee, Comer, who's a Republican, wants the testimony to be in private. And the Clintons have said, no, why? Let it be in public. So that'll be the next thing is whether they get their wish to do it in public. We'll see. But I think it is for the public good so that we can air all of this filth out. And God knows there is so much filth. So air it all out, but it's also to stick it to the felon. Like, your move, buddy. What are you going to do? Are you going to testify and tell the truth? Speaking of testify and tell the truth, just finally, we know that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be coming, speaking to the committee. This will be via, you know, um, video hookup from the prison that she's in, prison camp, and will not be televised. But Um, don't be too disappointed because word on the street is that she will take the fifth. So I have read on her, as you know, I read her on her last week, and I continue to think that she has gotten as good a deal as she's going to get. I don't think that that good deal will last um, much longer than this administration. I think she'll be relegated back to a harsher prison, but she will not be freed. That's not going to happen. Her sentence will not be commuted. Um, she will not be exonerated. That's not going to happen. So anyway, that's going to be Monday. We'll just hear she pled the fifth and whatever. She can go back to life with her puppy in the prison camp. Anyway, but that's so, we've got good news, bad news. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. Pay attention to Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon and whatever further mail exchanges he shares with us with the director of the CIA. I think that's going to be really fascinating. Um, take hope in the reading on Harris and her future and her intention, because even if she doesn't decide to run, she will be the wind beneath the wings of some really good young progressive candidates who can again breathe some fresh air into this dying corpse of a country. Whew. All right. I will see everybody tomorrow if you come to the live. Remember, the live is at 4 Pacific. So that's 7 Eastern. I am having, if you go to Substack and look for Broom Closet, she's an amazing, amazing tarotist. She knows Lenormand as well, but I just invited her on because I think she's amazing, and I just wanted to have her come on and talk politics. So come live, have your questions for her and for me, and we'll hang out for an hour. All right. Thank you again for all your support of the channel. Hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I come on, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.